So as we gather information, we can change our beliefs, but we also have to be open and not ignore information that we might already have. Another way that we can change beliefs is through logic. So sometimes we just draw conclusions, we make assumptions, and the conclusions and assumptions that we make get us into trouble. One of the ways that we can use logic, I like this sentence, to use this sentence stem just because that helps us to use logic. So we can say, just because, we'll go back to the late idea, just because I'm late doesn't mean I can't go in. That's logic. So that changes belief. Just because this person didn't smile at me doesn't mean that they don't like me. Just because somebody didn't call back doesn't mean that they're rejecting me. Some examples, okay? And then in another way that we can let go of a belief that isn't serving us is to actually look at whether it's serving us or not. Is it helping us to meet our goals? So sometimes we think that if we use really negative things, really negative phrases to ourselves, we'll motivate ourselves and we'll be more motivated and we'll work harder. And so we think, okay, I'm just going to call myself lazy and that's going to motivate me. I'm just making this up, okay? So, man, you're lazy, you need to get up and you need to exercise. So let's say you're laying in bed, the alarm clock goes off. You're lazy, you need to get up, you need to exercise. Why are you so lazy? Get up, you know? And then, do you feel more motivated to get up? No. You might actually feel less motivated, right? So then you can take a look at that idea. The idea that you're lazy, is that helping you or is it hurting you? Is it helping you get to your goal or is it keeping you from reaching the goal? So that's another way we can let go of belief. So there's all sorts of ways that we can let go of beliefs. And that's one of the things that therapists and coaches do with their clients is they help us to let go of ideas that are limiting us and aren't helping us, that are getting in our way. Okay?
Tell us what the A stands for again.
So the A can stand for adversity, or it can also stand for, if you use a different model, cognitive therapy, it stands for activating event. But pretty much people who do the cognitive therapy model or the REBT model will go back and forth calling it adversity or activating event. So you'll hear that interchanged by both types of therapists. They're very, very close in many respects. So the process that REBT uses is called disputation. And it's actually it's a question and answer process to help you look at the evidence for and against your ideas, the inferences that you're making, whether they're logical, whether they make sense, whether you have some assumptions that you're making that aren't logical, and whether your ideas are helping you or hurting you. Once you decide that your idea isn't helping and that you want to let go of it and you don't have evidence for your idea anymore and you're starting to decide, maybe I don't really believe this belief that I've been using to run my life with. At that point, you might be thinking, I want to let go of the belief, but now what do I do? What do I start to believe instead, right? So we want to look at reality and base beliefs on reality. And we can come up with a new effective philosophy. And that's sort of like the next step after we've done the question, is come up with a more healthy way to look at it, more adaptive way to look at it. Okay? And then we start looking at, okay, if I hold on to this new idea, how's it going to make me feel? How am I going to behave? What's going to happen inside my body? You know, am I going to be as tensed up or am I going to be more relaxed? And very often it leads to a healthier response. One other thing I want to mention is that there are different kinds of emotional responses. There are healthy negative emotions and unhealthy negative emotions, as well as healthy positive emotions and unhealthy positive emotions. Usually when people come in to get help, they're not asking us to change any of the positive emotions, healthy or unhealthy. They just want to keep those, okay? But in terms of healthy negative emotions, that's a lot of times where people will come in and they'll want to focus. And that's where a lot of my clients are usually asking for help. Unhealthy negative emotions, sorry. So even with the healthy negative emotions, sometimes people want to change them. So healthy negative emotions and unhealthy negative emotions sort of have parallels that go with them. So for example, a healthy negative emotion might be sadness, and an unhealthy negative emotion would be depression. So it's okay to feel sad, but when you talk to yourself in a certain way, you're going to turn your sadness into depression. And there's research to show that the content of people's thoughts when they're depressed includes negative ideas about the self, negative ideas about others, and negative ideas about life conditions. Hi, welcome, have a seat. So we're recording right now, so you can just make yourself comfortable. So anyway, so once you have those three things, you're going to end up probably feeling depressed. So if you understand, though, the mechanism that leads to depression, then you can start to understand how to go the other way and just convert your depression into sadness. Is you let go of the negative ideas about self, negative ideas about others, and negative ideas about your future. Okay? And then and I meant to say your future before, not life circumstance. I always want to welcome whoever's coming into the room, too. Anyway, so another example of a healthy negative emotion is irritation or annoyance. It's healthy to be irritated and annoyed sometimes because it lets us say what we need to say. It lets us get into the modality of being able to assert ourselves and to take care of ourselves and to recognize that maybe we have some preference that we want to express about a situation that we wouldn't express if we didn't feel a little bit irritated or annoyed. On the unhealthy negative emotion side, though, for that would be anger. That's when we place should statements on other people and shoulds on life. Okay? We can also place shoulds on ourselves and feel angry at ourselves. So should statements usually lead to anger. Okay? Another example of a healthy negative emotion would be concern. It's normal to feel concerned about things. So, I could be concerned about my health if I feel like I'm getting sick. I could be concerned about a friend if I see that they're not doing well. I could be concerned about my grades if I'm in school and I haven't studied, right? Concern is a healthy one because it mobilizes us and helps us get things done. But at the same time, it doesn't always feel great to feel concerned. So that's why it goes into the to the healthy negative emotions. The unhealthy negative emotional counterpart to that would be worry. Like, I'm really worried about this and hand-wringing. When you worry, you just think about things over and over and over again without resolution. Within that, you can escalate it too. We can get anxiety, we can get fear, we can even get panic if we keep escalating our thinking. Okay? We can ask what-if questions and not answer them. What if this happens? What if that happens? And not come up with an answer. We can also catastrophize. So we think about the worst things that are going to happen. We can do what's called fortune telling and predict the future in the most negative possible way and panic ourselves, right? So this is how it becomes an unhealthy negative emotion. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all of them today, but they are in my workbook, the REBT Super Activity Guide, and I have copies here and stuff if you want to look at them at the end, where I go into that a little bit more and how to shift out of that. But you'll see later when I do the demonstration with our volunteer that if there are any unhealthy negative emotions, the goal isn't to get rid of the emotion, but rather to translate it into a healthy negative emotion. So if our volunteer came in with depression, it's not get rid of the depression, it's translated into sadness. Sadness, once coped with and once processed and integrated, it will naturally dissipate. Okay? And same with some of these other healthy negative emotions. We just pay attention to them and we deal with them and cope with them, and that's coping skills. That's also a part of this type of therapy, is learning coping skills for dealing with our healthy negative emotions. Then those emotions can be assimilated and integrated and used properly, and then we feel better. But there are also behavioral interventions that are done here. I've been focusing mostly on the thinking or cognitive interventions, but there are also action-oriented interventions that we include too with treatment. So for example, if you were feeling depressed in the early phase of treatment, the very first thing you want to do is start paying attention to your activities that you're doing during the day and increase activities that give you mastery and pleasure. And this is based on the research. And as you do more and more activities that give you mastery, which is a sense of accomplishment, wow, I really did this, or pleasure, which is a sense of joy and really feeling happy as you do something, and especially if you can do the activities that merge both together, you're going to start feeling a lift in your mood. So what happens sometimes with people with depression is that they'll lay in bed and they'll say, well, what's the point, why bother? And they don't feel motivated to get into action. But the action and doing the actions that bring mastery and pleasure will then be followed by a mood increase. A lot of times people, when they're depressed, they're waiting for their mood to improve before they take action. But unfortunately, that's not usually the formula. We need to take action first, and then we start to feel better. So with each of the different emotional challenges, we have different interventions that go with them. That's one example. Okay, so do we have any questions about applying this model so far? Okay, thanks. And I guess what I'm going to do is take a break for a bit, and then when we come back, we'll be working with the volunteer.